Are you sitting down right now? Because if you are, you're going to want to listen to this episode.
The Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. But bear in mind, the views and opinions expressed here are those of the hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation. Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, all other state Christian school leaders, are you ready to refresh your spirit and renew your passion? Join us at Restoration Farm for a transformative day of remembering that teamwork makes the dream work. On March 24th, we'll pray together, learn together, and grow together, connecting with fellow administrators who understand the unique calling of Christian education. Come restore your vision, strengthen your leadership, and remember why you do what you do. One day, one team, one incredible purpose. Free for Max Admin and only $30 for others. Email us with your interest at mark@christianprinciplespodcast.com.
Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
And I'm Mark Zockoll. I love this series, Matt.
Boom! It's so much fun.
It is great. I love this building the perfect series. And in this series, we're building the perfect principal's office. There's a lot of people that think a lot of different ways about the principal's office, but we get to build the perfect one for us,
Well,
for me, not for you, for
to
us. Yeah, it's exciting.
We get to have the fun.
Mm-hmm. Nobody else.
If you want to have a podcast and have fun, go for it. But
exactly.
We are doing it now.
If I've learned one thing, it's all about me. That's the truth of it. All right, tonight, where are we going with this, though? We've already talked about the desk. So where are we going next? Yeah.
And you know what's funny about the desk? Just one more word. I don't even know if we really created a desk that exists when we finish that episode.
True, like we didn't create one, but we definitely got our preferences out there, and that's what matters. People need to hear what I have to think about something.
Now, I will say it out there to all of you listeners. If you listen to our perfect desk and you're like, you know what, these guys hit all the marks, and I happen to be a craftsman genius, and I'm going to build these guys their desk and send it to them, I mean, feel free.
Mine would be easy.
I'll be happy to take.
Mine would be easy. It's like 4 legs and a top. That's it. Just most of it's glass. The top, it's fine.
Yeah.
All right, but where are we going tonight?
We're going beyond that. We're maybe behind and in front of
that.
Behind
it, yeah,
potentially.
That's the thing.
We need a place for the caboose.
We got to sit.
We got to sit, or do we?
Well, we did talk about Veridesk. That's true. We did. But we're going with seating tonight. And we picked seating carefully because we could, of course, talk about stapler for a whole episode. We're going to talk about both the behind the desk seating and the in front of the desk seating. So we're going to have to do that fast. But before we do that, we're going to hear from the Herzog Foundation.
The Christian Principles Podcast is excited to share that we've joined the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network, a hub dedicated to advancing K-12 education and the Christian values we all share. The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze and accelerate the development of quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide, helping families and culture flourish. One of their most impactful resources for Christian school leaders like us is the Herzog Foundation Institute. This program offers fully funded training events and retreats, enabling us to sharpen our skills without adding cost to our schools. Led by national experts, these events cover essential topics like marketing, donor development, and culture building, all tailored to the unique needs of Christian schools. Held monthly in Kansas City and other locations across the country, these events equip schools and their leaders with the tools and strategies they need to thrive. Don't miss the opportunity to explore all the Herzog Foundation has to offer. Together, we can strengthen Christ-centered education. Learn more at herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Okay, so to get into this discussion right away, we start with the mission. Matt, what is missional about a chair? I suppose it could be a lot of the same things that we talked about when we talked about the desk, making sure that it's not too fancy or it's also not too cheap. We're not wasting money by throwing it away on something that costs $10 and it's going to break the first time we, in anger, plop our cabooses down. At the same time we don't need a throne. Or do we?
I feel like we're going to throw that out there a lot
Absolutely.
when we're doing these.
Yeah.
Or do we?
I might need one. This is the perfect one after all. But
well,
no,
I mean, I just recently went through this when looking for my own desk chair.
Okay.
And I won't necessarily say that I've, discovered the perfect thing, but there is a lot that goes on both behind and in front of our desks that we've got to take into consideration.
Okay.
I think we just have to keep in mind what is the ultimate thing we want to be doing. We want to be focused on from behind the desk. We want to be focused on our job. We want to be able to do our job well.
Sure.
And then from the other side, we want to make sure when people come into our office that the chair isn't getting the attention. We want them focused on what we're talking, and so all of that to say
on moi. They need to focus on moi.
Set yourself up for success,
Uh-huh.
right?
Absolutely.
So just bring in the metal chairs. You'll be fine.
Whether therefore we eat or drink or sit,
whatever you sit on,
whatever we do. So that's the number one thing, of course. And so,
Right.
yeah, I guess rehashing the missional, and the same with the ethical, as long as our chair is not drawing glory to us in some
or
inappropriate
you have
way.
to take out a loan to afford it.
Absolutely, yeah. Like
Right.
we need, as long as we're making sure that overall we are not being inappropriate, I suppose we can pretty much get to the attributes of the chair. So I have come a long ways. I will say that. I definitely started in a cast off, and
Sure.
I'm pretty sure I pulled it right out of the dumpster, but I was trying to make a point that I wasn't too good for something that was in the trash. Which, maybe that landed, maybe that didn't, maybe nobody cared about it. As I've gotten older, and I've actually, I've dropped some weight since college overall, but that doesn't, I was playing football, so it is what it is. Like, I do appreciate more padding in my chair now. Whereas
Sure.
when I started, the chair I inherited was very thin. And I think it had been thin because it was been worn away over time and it was cheap to start with. So even right now where I'm sitting, this has been a chair of investment, but not like a $300 investment, not even like a $200 investment. This is a chair investment, and it's paying dividends. I'm doing a lot of work from it now. I am mostly virtual. So in my perfect realm, I'm probably not going to be as minimalistic in my chair choice as I was in my desk choice. What about you? Are you more like give me wood slats with the tenons between, or what are you working on over there?
At the office, my big thing when I went out to look for a chair, because it was time, we needed it. In fact, people were telling me you need to get rid of that chair and you need to go find something. So that was one thing. The motivation didn't necessarily come from me; it came from other people saying,
"Go do it." Yeah,
come on. So,
well,
for me, flexibility was really the big thing, because you don't think about that for a chair.
True.
But I don't like my chair so much stuck behind my desk. So it might have to come out, and if it comes out, I want it to be presentable. I also, this is a question. Are you an armed chair guy, or are you an armless chair guy?
Oh man, as I say this, my elbows are resting on the armrests, and an issue I do have with the armrest though are I'm sitting usually in a space where I'm hitting the desk in front of me with those armrests, so that needs to be taken into account, because that would frustrate me more than not having. I would rather be able to come completely under my desk, like bring my desk to my belly, I suppose, than I would to want to be able to keep my arms resting. At the same time, but we talk about the Veridesk and things like that, standing up, it is nicer to have. I suppose ultimately, as long as the desk is high enough, I would rather have the arms, but I give up the arms pretty fast.
So I thought through this, because same. I hated that I got stuck. I want to get closer to my desk, and the arms are saying, no, you can't get any closer. No, stop. But then
and
also
you know what?
at the same time,
you know what it was?
A huge problem.
A huge problem.
Huge problem.
Absolutely.
Absolutely
But
huge problem.
At the same time, there were moments where it's like, oh, I need an armrest. I need something here. So what did I do? I got a chair that has armrests that can fold up and go out of the way. I also,
Nice.
this was another thing, because this is just this
I
side note.
completely forgot they even made those.
They do. I play guitar as well, and a lot of times when I'm like choosing songs, whether it's for chapel or for congregational, and I need to see that I know the chords for these things or whatever, or sometimes I'm actually doing guitar lessons in my office as well, and I hate cringy whenever I go to put the guitar down while I'm sitting in my chair and that armrest just bangs against my guitar.
Oh,
frustrating.
yeah. I bet so.
So, but with that one, I flip up the right hand armrest and I keep the left one down so I can keep my left elbow rested there while I'm playing guitar, nice and comfy. So
that's pretty awesome. I did not even think about that. That's awesome.
Armrest.
Yeah. Okay, so now I got to think, of course, what we're going to do is break down the whole chair. So you started with being mobile. You said flexible. And so I do like that we're talking about chairs.
It's got wheels.
It's on wheels.
That's a big one. Yeah, it's not static. It's not just sitting there. It can be wheeled around.
And you got these flexible armrests too.
Flexible armrests.
Now, does your headrest move? Do you have a pillow that's attached to the back of the head thing, or?
Rarely does my back ever hit the back of that seat.
You're a forward sitter.
I'm a forward sitter. I tend
You're
to be
not a recliner.
But I do have a full back, so it goes all the way up to the top of my head.
We all have
to lay back.
We all have full backs, Matt. We all have full backs. Just so you know, some of us more than others.
But it's just it's a fully padded full back.
Okay.
It's actually, to be honest, it is a gamer's chair. It's not like one of those high end things. Definitely, but definitely a gamer. And I've had a teenager or two be like, "Oh, hey, I like that chair."
It got speakers on that. Whoa.
It doesn't have speakers. It's like that. It's way down there. But even that was kind of another thing. I was like, well, this might be a conversation starter. We'll see.
I know. Okay, so I do have a story about a chair that may interest, again, in my second installment, trying to evidence that I was not above anybody, trying to evidence that I could roll with the punches, trying to, just get my desk together with what was available. I went and found a chair that was, it's one of the mesh very simple mesh back, mesh bottom, just hard plastic on the outside as like a perimeter, and it was on wheels. And it actually, I think those arms might have gone up and down actually, but there was no headpiece to it. Like behind me, my old man blankets and whatnot behind me, there's actually there's like a headrest right here, and it did not move up and down. It was supposed to hit everybody else basically at the top of their spine, bottom of their neck, so that they could roll back. But for whatever reason, it had no movement up or down, which means it hit me in my shoulder blades. And again, I'm not stupid tall or anything, but this was definitely not moving. It wasn't going to work for me. So I brought my hacksaw in, like the second I was there. I kind of snuck it in because I didn't want to see what I was doing. I just hacked that thing off. And I rode that chair. I mean, that was the chair I left in. So that was it. That chair was, and my office staff did come in and see me do it, and they thought it was hilarious. I was cutting the chair, but it was a good story. So the headrest as well. If you are a recliner, like you said you're not, but if you are one who reclines, I suppose if you have some height on you or a lack of height on you, you're going to want to make sure that immovable headrest is not like an option that you can't deal with at some point.
Now you mentioned the going up and going down.
Yeah.
Because the chair that I have does go up and go down, and I don't really understand the engineering of these things, but I definitely have one of those chairs that just over time, as you're sitting there, your head is just getting lower and lower. I'm like, come on. And I'm half of the time pulling myself back up. And I know there's a way to jimmy rig it to always stay up, but that is a very frustrating thing when you have those changing height chairs.
I tell you, they sell those pistons though as a aftermarket piece that you can replace. So just make sure you can replace those. It's not actually that difficult. So if I was going to actually make this perfect chair, for me, the perfect chair, I don't want it to be gargantuan. I don't want something that's, even if it was a
Grandiose.
nicer chair, even if it was like more, I think of like a wine colored with those brass buttons all around it.
Yeah.
I would want something that was sleeker, and I don't need anything past my shoulders. You can just keep it shoulders and down. That's fine. I don't need anything for my head because I'm not going to full recline on this thing, come all the way back. And I want, there is a problem. I tend to cross my legs under me and then pull them back in. So even right now, if I've heard ladies talk to girls about crossing their ankles and being bad for their circulation. Someone should have told me that too, because my legs are forever curled under me and crossed at the ankle. But in certain chairs, there's so much cushioning and so little, because I have to have the chair basically all the way down and get my fat thighs underneath the desk and have space, again, usually in chairs for me, that I'm like cramming my feet underneath. So a good chair for me would also be one that had a little bit of cushion, but not so much cushion that I couldn't get my legs curled under for my inappropriate for circulation crossing of my ankles underneath my chair. And then I go back to the same thing about, like I said, the desk. I want to be able to get my legs out in the same way too. For whatever reason, as I thought through this, I want flexibility in my range of motion with my legs. So I wouldn't want armrests that had two supports. I only want support in the back because I want to be able to, and to your point, I want those flippers. I want to flip up so I can go all the way up, but I don't want armrests that have any front support, because then my legs can't go wide, so to speak, if I want to, stretch out or whatnot. So that's, and wheels, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice wheels. Not I'd even go with like casters or something to make sure I can go off-roading in that thing, because that chair will find it, some senior prank will find that chair in the middle of the field next to you at some point. Like, and
it's gotta last.
It's gotta last. Yeah. Go ahead. Your perfect one. I mean, we've talked about building it, so build it.
Yeah. I mean, I really like my chair right now.
Right.
There's very little things I dislike about it. I guess the only thing, again, perhaps because it is a gamer's chair, you kind of wonder, like, does that maybe knock me down? Like, they think I'm a gamer because of this. I'm not really a gamer.
Too cheap, yeah.
But just for personal taste, like, I love the comfy brown leather, like, looks like a history teacher
CEO,
sits at this desk, or a CEO. Yeah. I do enjoy those things, but I know just from experience of talking to people that have chairs like that, like, rarely are they comfortable and rarely are they like I'm saying, like, flexible.
Yeah.
So, I love the flexibility, and I don't ever want to give up on something like that. But
I'll also say something with some material that's going to take a beating, because again, I don't trust my faculty and staff and students to not pull some kind of prank, or myself not to drop something on it. So something that would be like a suede fabric, which you probably wouldn't get that in a desk chair that's going to be highly used anyway. Most of them are mesh or like this kind of plasticky stuff. Yeah,
faux
like
leather or something like that.
Yeah. An off-putting texture would be something that made squeaks when I sat down on it, or like it made a lot of noise if I moved on it.
Right.
That I would probably go nuts with your piston not working as well, because I changed it pretty fast.
It drives me batty.
I'm gonna buy you one.
I've tried working on it, but and I do know, look, like our youth pastor of church is he'll come in with his drill and drive a bolt right through it. That's not going anywhere. Like, I wouldn't mind if he came in and did that, because I always want it in the highest position.
Anyway,
but yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
We didn't talk about seat height. And that, I think as we transfer over to the other side of the desk too, there may be something to talk about there.
Yeah, I would say this. Number one, I think it's going to be a little bit more dictated by your desk.
Okay,
because if the desk is too low, you don't want to be towering over your desk, because then you're going to create all kinds of problems with, looking down and bending over your desk.
Yeah.
And we said last time with our desk that we kind of like our desks a little higher anyway. I know I do. This desk I bought in high school is definitely too low because I feel like I'm slouching right now. So if your desk is higher, you want to make sure you're at the right level where, again, you're just not undoing all of that heightened desk. But at the same time, there is, and I want to be careful at how I say this, because there's the element of being a little bit higher than everybody else in the room. I know it can sometimes be used as like a superiority thing, like I'm higher than you, so you need to listen to me. More so, I want to make sure it's crystal clear to everybody in the room that I'm engaged and I'm there, and like I'm not going to be hiding behind, my desk or the things that are on my desk. So that's
a good point.
Clarity, that clear communication, those clear eye lines are going to be what drives my rationale for why I want my seating to be a little bit higher.
And definitely not below whatever they're sitting in. And I'm imagining, I should say this, like, number of seats in a space, our offices probably are not going to be the biggest rooms on the campus. They might be the biggest office space on the campus, but they're not going to be just the biggest rooms. But for most of us, for most of us, it's not going to be the outright biggest office space, even the biggest room. So 3 chairs would be awesome. 2 pair, mom and dad and student. 3 chairs makes a lot of sense to me. But making sure the chairs are, you could cram like 6 in if you need to. And I know that even sounds nuts, but there's a fine line between getting those nice, clam chairs they would call them, on 4 legs and wheels that have a nice rounded back and they look nice, and people want to come put nice pillows on them for you. I get that. I absolutely get that. But maybe those are better used in the front office space, and in our spaces it's just some office chairs or something. Again, go back to that plastic with the mesh. I think about those as like Target or Amazon, and they are relatively basic office chairs. Maybe those are the better bet, rather than trying to get something that's like upholstered and nicer. What do you think? Am I off on that? I'd rather have I'd rather have 3 chairs and really have more in than have 2 nice ones, because
and
they even use my office for like 6 kids as well. Like that's So
I would jump to kind of go to the cheaper route first, like just the regular folding chairs, whether they just be straight up metal or the
canvas ones,
or whatever. But having those kind of gives this idea of maybe I don't want you here, and if I can get away with you not being here, I'm a little bit more of a happy person. So that's why I would steer away from the cheaper side of things.
They would not be. Yeah, those would not be in my perfect build. It wouldn't be those. Definitely not.
No. But at the same time, in my administrator's office growing up, it very much resembled the Oval Office.
I bet you can still feel it because you're in there that often.
But like you'd probably find them in an antique store, in like leatherish, and you felt like you didn't want to touch it because you'd be putting oils all over it that he doesn't want, type of thing.
Okay.
But at the same time, I can understand why they were there, because, well, first of all, his office was very visible from as you walk past, and so
it needs to be nicer.
It gave a little bit of a aesthetic that this is a professional place. But at the same time, like, I don't want it to ever feel uncomfortable. And I know there are some times where people will get into those settings where, like, am I allowed to sit in those chairs?
Yeah.
Like, it's confusing. And so you got to find that middle ground where it's inviting. It's not tacky. It's not off-putting in any way. People know I can sit here, and I can even maybe move it a little bit to just put myself in a better position, which again, we'll go back to this: wheels or no wheels.
On those chairs, in the perfect world, I want them to have wheels because I'm going to be moving them a lot. But I want them to be a little bit nicer even with wheels. but I can get a lot of configurations with them. I can turn students to face each other. I can not turn parents to face each other necessarily. Battles. The battles draw. But you're going to go somewhere else. You go ahead with where you're going with this.
Well, I am going to differ with you on this one because I don't want wheels on those chairs, but I want them small enough that I can just push it across the room, that kind of thing. And so that you have to have that balance of a chair that's light enough that can maybe glide across the floor, while also communicating a bit more stability. And, this chair was placed here perhaps on purpose, and it didn't just end up here because
maybe it's supposed to be here.
Maybe it's supposed to be here.
Do we spend more on those chairs or our chairs?
And our own chair?
Yeah. I feel like my gut reaction is I spend more on their chair than my chair.
Yes. With this in mind, that the idea, granted, as long as you're not going through a rotating door of administrators who just wants to update your office every single time they come in to fit their needs. But I'm thinking you spend a little bit more on those chairs because potentially they're going to be there longer.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And
so you're going for lifespan as well as effectiveness. Whereas, we're gonna kill our chairs. We just know that. Like, we're riding those things every single day.
And I might get tired of my chair and want to switch it out with something else too. So that might, a yoga ball or something like that. I definitely tried moving my chair out of my office and not having a chair. Yeah. I definitely tried a yoga ball for a little bit. I only did the yoga ball though when the door was facing my desk, not my back was to the door.
Yeah.
So that nobody knew it was back there. I didn't want anybody else to know it was back there because I definitely took I took some meetings on it, which is crazy, but it was
I will tell you, I've tried the yoga ball as well, not in the school office. I've tried it in my own. Yeah. It drove me nuts. It was just one of those things like I'd rather just stand up. Like, seriously, come on. This is so annoying. Like, you get to that point where you're just like, okay, if I go a little bit farther, am I going to fall over?
A little over here.
Just constantly.
A little over here.
Okay, get out of here.
Any final thoughts on these chairs? Anything that throw pillows? Give it some personalization?
I think it depends on the ultimate makeup of your chair.
Okay.
Because you might have ones that are perhaps overly padded that, a pillow would just get in the way. But at the same time, another thing I would consider, if you can, and if I were to build my perfect ones, I would make these chairs like fit or be customized even for your school or your ministry.
Oh yeah, some like logo branding.
That's another really good look.
To absolutely
somehow make tie it in like these are purposeful. You're a part of this team. This is your chair as much as it is my chair. All that kind of stuff. This is our chair. Be helpful.
We're here together. The only other thing I want to add to this is I don't want to make a chair too comfortable for that guest, for that guest chair. I want them to come in, not be antsy. That's not the right way of saying this, but I don't want them to come in thinking it's time to spend a long time in here. We want to be moving these conversations, even like interviews and even parent conversations and whatnot. Unless we're setting it up to be an hour or something, it can be they have things to do. We have things to do. I think there is a balance there. And I wouldn't say that I love the chairs I had in my office previously for that reason. In fact, I would go to that chair and turn it around and sit and face the window because it was more comfortable than my chair every now. And that was a bad thing. That would be, I wasn't doing what I should have been doing. So,
but and even take it to going back to the arms, I think is another thing. Do you have arms on these chairs or no arms on these chairs?
Good point. Good point.
And for me, I'm going to say no arms on these chairs.
Again,
because
goes back
of that reason. Because if
Yep.
they got their arms there, they're chilling all day long, and we don't want that.
This has been fun. This has been good. We got to keep it rolling. All right, it's time to get to our Christian Administrator Spotlight. Tonight, our spotlight goes out to Miss Ann Newton. Matt, where is she?
Ann is the school administrator at Burge Terrace Christian School in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Ooh, you know anybody out there?
Oh, I got a couple friends there. I'm pretty sure the Dillings
The
went to
Dylans are out
school,
there.
and a couple plays with as well in
There you
the
go.
old alma mater. But
There you go.
yeah, Ann Newton is heading up that school.
Mm-hmm. And she also, of course, is doing intermediate history by what we can see.
It seems like she
Sounds like you.
She's another one of those.
She sounds like you.
It's
Absolutely.
one of me.
So one of those who's going to do, and I mean, like so many of us out there who are going to, and maybe it's just what she loves, so she's always going to give herself that pet class just to kind of stay into it. Or maybe she's being asked to do more. Whichever way, Ann, it's time to pray for you and your role. Matt, take it away.
Father, we thank you so much for Ann and her dedication to leading Burge Terrace and the team there, and we're thankful for her leadership. Just pray that you would encourage her, and may this shout out be an encouragement to her as well, knowing that there are fellow laborers around the world that are thinking of her and encouraging her, and we just thank you for this opportunity to uplift her at this moment, and may her team come around her and support her as she finishes out this school year. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Matt, it's been fun sitting around with you.
Hey, we could sit around and talk all day, but you know what? This chair's getting a little uncomfortable. So
let's move along.
I think we should move into a new episode.
Let's do it. Thanks for going with us today.
Could we ask you a favor? Please help us grow our channel by clicking on the plus follow button at the top of the screen on Apple Podcasts or the follow button on the main podcast page on Spotify. Taking this step helps boost our ratings, but more importantly, gets us in more Christian school admins' ears. Also, it'll keep our latest content in your feed. This little action could help us take this podcast a long way.